You're listening to the Light Novel Podcast. Visit us online at lightnovelpodcast.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Light Novel Podcast. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the light novel series, The Rising of the Shield Hero. We're going to focus on volumes 1 to 4 because that is probably what the first season of the anime is going to cover, or at least the first 12 or 13 episodes. I am Justus R, and with me tonight, I've got Flyz.
How you doing?
There we go. I've got Bio-Gundam.
I'm sick of you guys. I'm going to make my own light novel podcast, see? With raccoons and chickens.
I have Jean-Luc.
Hey, once orange balloon, peanuts, fresh balloons.
Oh my. And I've got Terrence.
Are you making that podcast Bio-Gundam with raccoons or tanukis? Because I don't know which one Raftalia is.
I'll think about it. Maybe both. Like, I'll be a very inclusive podcast. I'll just diversity hire a Sanuki or something.
If she's got cute ears, a bushy tail, and she's cute as can be, it's all good, right?
Yeah, well, I have to do that one diversity hire. Like, there's a quota that I have to follow. Otherwise, my company will be closed down.
He's like, and I'll take any chickens. It doesn't matter. Okay. Moving right along. So first of all, as always, we will do the news and then we will start talking about Shield Hero. If you have not read the light novels or, watched the anime to this point, there will of course be spoilers. There will be spoilers beyond what the anime has covered so far.
There's always spoilers.
There's always spoilers on this podcast, so all of you should know that by now. But you can at least listen to the news because that's generally spoiler-free. First off, I'm going to do a little bit of self-plug, and that is we have opened a Discord group that so far is actually a lot more popular than I thought it would be, I got to be honest. So there's I think there's something like 150 members or so far in the Discord group.
But we've also managed to segregate them all. We have the Patreon, which is like the bourgeoisie, and then we have like the working class, which is the people who don't give Justus R money, and then we have like us on the top.
Yeah, and
well, there's got to be benefits.
We also have 120 chat rooms.
Yeah, there's quite a few. Yeah, there are quite a few chat rooms. But, well, people kept asking for more division of topics so that, you didn't have 18 conversations going on in one place about all different things. And fair enough. So
we do have a safe for work art place and another art place you may go.
Well, again, we are a diverse group of people. So we have diverse interests and so therefore diverse chat rooms. So anyway, yeah, so little plug. If you want to check out the Discord group, I'll have a link in the description or show notes for that.
Yeah, try and join the VC so it encourages other people to VC as well, to be in the voice chat.
Well, yes, yeah, I've got to hang out in the voice chat more often. Okay, so other than that...
Look.
So let us talk about actual, real, honest-to-God light novel news. First off, there is, it's mostly anime adaptations. There's only, I think, one book, really, that's been announced. First of all, we'll fire through all the anime adaptations. First one... Kawaikereba Hentai Demo Suki ni Natte Kuremasuka light novel series getting a TV anime. This one is a romantic comedy when a love letter arrives out of the blue for Keiki Kiryu, an ordinary high school student who has never had a girlfriend as long as he has been alive. As if they had to put in as long as he has been alive. They could have just said, who's never had a girlfriend. We get it. But anyway. The letter does not include the sender's name, but the letter does include white panties. In the process of investigating who could be his, quote, Cinderella who left behind her panties.
Oh, no.
It does have hentai. It does have hentai in the title, kids.
I think I know about this
discovers,
one. Oh, God.
Keiki discovers every candidate is uniquely perverted and desperately interested in having him participate in their perversion.
Yeah, this is the one that has the covers that look a little, they're,
racy?
obviously going for, a little racy, going for that kind of audience. I think one thing that struck me was I don't know if it's exactly the art style that they're going with, but I like the character designs more for the anime than for the books, but I don't know if you guys have seen both.
No, I didn't actually check out the PV or anything or the official artwork for it. I just saw the headline, really. I remember
I'll have to link it later.
It's been in the top 10 in Japan a number of times. Which, I mean, the first time I saw it in the top 10, I just laughed and I was like, "It's got the word hentai and a half-naked girl on the cover. Of course, it's in the top 10 in Japan."
This reminds me of this one series. I haven't watched it yet, but I think it's some early 2000s called I think it's Ichigo 100, and it's about this dude. He's trying to find this girl with striped strawberry panties or some shit.
Oh, that series is good.
Does anyone remember that? It reminds me of that.
Yeah, but the thing is the strawberry panties and that one is just the premise. It soon become irrelevant, but in the one you just talked about, I think I saw a few manga chapter and spoilers. All of the girls are shit crazy, so.
Well, it does say they're all perverted. So, and funny enough, in Japan, when they say someone's perverted, it does not always mean in a sexual way.
No.
So,
hentai also has a translation of meaning weird or transformation. So
exactly. So it doesn't necessarily mean what. It's sort of probably a double entendre is kind of the whole idea.
Although I would love to see Transformers in Japan. It's just hentai formers.
No, that type of transformation is ancient, not hentai. But
oh no!
Oh, you suck! You ruined my fun, Jean-Luc. That is why you are officially French, because you're a downer.
Oh damn! Okay, I'll edit the insult to French people out of the podcast. All right. So anyway, moving right along. By the way, we do not have that light novel licensed in English. I guess I'll throw that out there.
I wonder why.
Well, yeah. Another one that's getting a anime adaptation, which actually we do have available in English from Seven Seas, is Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? This one, the Seven Seas has been doing for a while. I've only read the first volume of it, but I really liked it. It's basically about a girl who is a overachiever. She's a very capable girl in modern day Japan, and she dies. And when she meets God, who feels very bad that she died, God offers her a chance, of course, to be reincarnated and says, "Hey, what would you like in your next life?" And she's like, "I just want to be average." And God's like, "Well, that's kind of a weird request." And she's like, "Well, really, it's a pain, everybody expects you to overachieve. Nobody's ever satisfied when you just do normal things. They always want so much of you. I just want to be average. I want to be normal." Okay. Well, God's idea average is a little bit different in terms of God's calculation than it is for hers.
Yeah, you should have said human average.
Yeah, yes.
It's like the genie thing. You have to be super specific. It's like when you're dealing with demons and genies and magical creatures. You have to be super specific, otherwise it will backfire on you horribly, or you won't get exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, so she does get reborn into another world, and yeah, she is anything but average. Actually, it's a really funny book. Like I said, I've only read the first volume. I do have the second volume because I really liked the first one. Man, I was howling at some of the points, especially near the end of the book. There's this sort of tournament arc-ish kind of bit, and oh my god, there was some funny shit in that. Anyway, so that one's getting an anime. Another one that is definitely getting an anime is a J-Novel Club series, and that is If It's For My Daughter, I'd Even Defeat a Demon Lord. This
one's
is
like fucking diabetes for my heart.
But you know, here's the thing though. It goes kind of creepy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the last ending volumes are kind of creepy, but like the beginning volumes are like fucking diabetes.
Basically,
Yeah,
all,
the beginning.
All you need to say is Usagi drop.
Yeah, someone was saying all across the internet when this got announced, the direction of it got spoiled within like a second.
Yeah.
And I know I also posted Usagi drop when it got
Hopefully it's
Well,
like the Usagi drop anime and they just end the anime before it gets to any of that stuff.
Anyway, so the initial setup is there's this adventurer. He is traveling through this dangerous forest and he finds a very young girl who turns out to be like a demon, and he can't bring himself to leave her, and so he adopts her as his daughter, and she is horribly cute, and basically everybody in the village falls in love with her, and she becomes a fixture in everybody's lives, and it's all this cute little slice of life as she grows up kind of thing, and little boys having crushes on her and all this kind of stuff, and then it gets creepy as F, and that's that. I don't know what they're gonna do with this one. Because I think it starts getting creepy around volume 4. I think.
Yeah, well, somebody was saying that I haven't read all of the volumes, but someone was saying they do go back. Like later on, they'll go back and tell some other tales when she was younger.
I believe volume 7.
Yeah, I think the last volume, volume 7, which I haven't read it yet, but like I've actually got a picture of it right now. I just posted in the Discord.
Yeah, so there's enough content that they don't have to cover later stuff.
They can just cover volumes 1 through 3 and then throw in some random side stories from 7 in between.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And I mean, they might, well, you know, but here's the thing. And I mean, they might do that, but like the whole title
literally, this
really
entire
come
series
into
does bring a
play.
new meaning of who's your daddy.
Jesus. So anyway, yeah, I like it. You know, I really liked the first two. They were so sweet and so cute. And then I found out kind of where it was going, and I was like, Anyway, then another one that we think is officially announced. It's I haven't seen it. We were just talking about it earlier. I haven't seen it announced on like Anime News Network or anything like this. But supposedly, Ascendance of a Bookworm is getting an anime. This seems to be a hot topic going all around the internet today, and even the person who is doing the translation of the manga for J-Novel Club commented on it that it looked legit. So I guess it's happening. It wouldn't surprise me because it has been number 1 on the Tankobon list for Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi for the last 2 years. So I think it was only a matter of time before it got an anime. This one is about a girl who is in love with books and wants to become a librarian, and then dies, and of course is reborn in a world with a very low literacy rate, and so she decides to basically set out on her own to help create enough books so that she can once again live her dream of being a librarian. It's really well regarded, and obviously, I mean, Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi has done nothing but gush about it for the past 2 years, but we still don't have this licensed in English. We've just got the manga from J-Novel Club, although I would say this anime might help spur things along. That's my guess. Okay. Then we have, I don't know if we want to include this, but the author of Rain and Bōkyaku no Haō Roland light novels, author Takumi Yoshino, has recently passed away, apparently. I'm not really familiar with these, but apparently, like, I guess they've done manga. The novel series has 15 compiled volumes, Rain, and it has sold more than 1.3 million copies in print. So it sounds like it's a pretty big series. And apparently this was an author who was one of the pioneers of the whole posting books, like posting his works online as he was writing it. He started this back in like 2000, which is, you know, a couple of years before any of the other guys.
So this dude's like a fucking like pioneer or something. Like this dude's like a pilgrim for light novels.
Yeah. Well, like especially in terms of like posting the work online initially and gaining sort of notoriety, posting it privately.
He's basically one of the original web novel people that made it more of a trend.
Oh, that's fucking sick, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
because a lot of big series that we read that are based on originally web novels, I think they didn't start till like late 2000s, but this guy's pretty old.
Yeah, like I mean, I think Kawaikereba started posting sword art on 2002, but like the whole Naru website, I don't think that went up I don't think most of those didn't start until like 2000. I want to say like 2010 or 11.
Yeah, because like, Kawaikereba posted it on his own website, not a forum website.
Yeah, that's right. This particular author posted it on his own
randomteenagewriter.jpp.com. Read my series, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, right? So he started apparently on his personal website in 2000, started serializing it, and then it started being published in 2005. So, I mean, 5 years he worked on this before it got picked up. But then, 15 compiled book volumes and 1.3 million copies in print. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't find a synopsis on Rain. But
I've never heard of it. Like maybe it's like one of those more like obscure novels that's like really popular in Japan, but not so much here.
Can you type out his name in the chat and maybe I can find it?
Sure.
Yeah, let's look this dude up because like, I mean, he must have done if he's been around for that long. Like, yeah, I'm gonna look him up as well. Like maybe he's done something. Like maybe he's. Shit,
all right, so. We can come back to that when you guys find a little bit more. First off, while you're doing that, I will talk about. We mentioned that we were going to talk about this earlier. A light novel about a sex slave was canceled after the author freaked out on the Illustrator on Twitter. So. This light novel series, it was called I Chose to Leave Because I Was Threatened with Expulsion from the Party Unless I Became the Sex Slave of the Female Hero. And so, apparently the author was throwing insults at the artist and on Twitter, and I guess, made enough people angry that this one was being published by Dash X Bunko, and they turned around and said, well, we're done. One volume got released, and that's it. There's not going to be any more.
Supposedly, what he said was basically like there was some kind of misinterpretation. I guess the illustrator had said they wanted to do like more lewd illustrations, and they were held back. And I don't know how they worded it, but he thought they were saying, "Oh, this work isn't any good" or something like that.
From my understanding, it was basically like, that he thought the illustrator was throwing shade at the book by saying, "Oh, there was nothing really lewd or anything, so I couldn't draw anything like that." Whereas the illustrator was like legit, like, "Dude, there was lewd stuff in this, and I wanted to illustrate it, but they wouldn't let me because, of course, they want to sell it to people, right, and not slap like cellophane wrappers and stuff on it." But I guess the author he must have gone off though. Like, I mean. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine this thing got canceled just because he was like, that's kind of a dick thing to say.
Yeah, I think most of the tweets are gone. Like, they all got deleted pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So,
also it's in Japanese.
He must have gone off.
And Japanese is a very, like, context-heavy language. So, I mean, it must have been quite the fucking sprowl if it, like...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, for a publisher to turn around and like cancel the work completely,
it's like the publisher's like, "You've been very bad. Go to naughty chair."
Well,
yeah, and the series had just released Volume 2. Like, it had just come out like that day that they decided to cancel it, and like the PR was still going out. Like, after this all went through. Like, the day after, the PR was still going out promoting the book. on websites, you know. So it was very swift.
Like like I said, I mean, it just really surprised me. Like I said, I didn't even see any translations of the tweets or anything like that. I was like, man, like, what must he have said to this illustrator on Twitter that the publisher would be like, you know what, we're done with you now. like that's pretty intense. Like, wow. The last time
he
we saw a
probably
light
shamed
novel
the illustrator's ancestors.
I don't know, man, but the last time we saw a light novel get trashed over somebody's tweets, it was like directly like racism and everything else. So, I mean, I don't know. Weird. Anyway, so the moral of the story, kids, is watch what you say on Twitter and make sure you've got the story straight before you decide to go on a rant against somebody, because damn, it might just cost you your career.
Yeah, especially a person who's like helping you with your work. I mean, like, the illustrator novel like writer is supposed to be a team. Like,
you would think.
I mean, like, clearly they should have, like, I mean, even if they don't live like in the same town, you would have think they would have, like, you know, hashed this out over Skype or something and like get to the bottom of it without fucking bitching it all over so all of like Japan can see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
That's what private messaging is for, dumbass.
Well, I guess he felt that the illustrator was trashing him in a public forum, so he decided to do the same. But I don't know. Anyway, Yen Press has announced that they have acquired the novel "The Miracles of the Nemea General Store." This isn't like a light novel, but I mean, Yen is picking it up, and obviously it is. It's really highly regarded. Originally, this was published by Kadokawa Shoten in 2012. It's the story of three delinquents who hole up in an abandoned convenience store after their most recent heist, when, to their great surprise, a letter drops through the mail slot in the store's shutter. The three find themselves assuming the former proprietor's role of offering advice through the lens of time to those seeking it. This won the prestigious 7th Chuokoren Prize in Japan, and has apparently gone on to sell over 10 million copies internationally. Like, wow, that's crazy. And believe it or not, this one it's been adapted into 2 different films, one of which starred Jackie Chan.
Wow.
Holy shit.
So yeah, apparently this is kind of some big stuff that's happening.
If it's got Jackie Chan in it, like, was it when he was starting out or when he was, like, quite famous? Because, like, Jackie Chan's been doing movies since he was, like, I think
no, I mean, it was published in 2012, so it would be in the past, like, 5 or 6 years.
Jesus,
so,
that's actually quite a big deal, man. Like, I know that Jackie Chan's still pretty famous, like, even though he's getting in his age. Like, he can't do all the shit he used to do. But, like,
no, but I mean,
he's quite a prestigious actor.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, so it is it's today Jackie Chan. It's not like starting out Jackie Chan. And they're apparently going to release this one on September 18th, both hardcover and digitally. So Yen Press going to give this the prestige release of a hardcover. But hey, you can buy it digitally if you don't want to pay for a hardcover, so it's all good. So yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty cool, and I know I saw a lot of people really excited about that one. So, not, like I said, not really a light novel, but definitely one that light novel fans might be interested in checking out. And now, Terrence, I think you posted this. You posted something about how, like, light novel awards from the LN News about Rust Eater Bisco.
Yeah, so LN News they just do like a monthly questionnaire survey type thing.
Yeah.
And so one of them that ended up there, they have a few different categories, and one of them was the hottest title of the month or whatever. Don't know how they determine that, but I know obviously this questionnaire out there. There's the different categories.
Right.
And yeah, Rust Eater Bisco ended up number 1 for January.
Huh. Like, I am wondering if we're going to see this one get licensed this year.
Yeah, I mean, people certainly are hoping for it, so we'll see what happens.
But you know what's really funny is that, like, people are hoping for it, but, like, I remember when Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi came out just a couple months ago, and people were like, what the hell is this book? Like, because if you are new to the podcast or haven't followed whatever, it was #1 on the Bunko list for Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi, and it was also, wasn't that the one that was also the brand? It was also #1 on the hottest new light novels.
Yeah, it's a brand new series basically from last year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it was like the first title ever to be #1 at both the hot new list on Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi and also the Bunko list in Kono Light Novel ga Sugoi. It's the first time it's ever been done. So I really would not. I'd be surprised if we don't see this one licensed sometime this year.
Another one that finished high on that questionnaire was that one Unnamed Memory. I forget if we've mentioned that before.
Oh, that was the one that's the dragon. We mentioned the publication the last podcast that they were starting that it's their publications based on like tabletop RPG worlds, right?
Yeah, I think it was from that one. I get confused between that one and the new Shindangeki. I'm not sure which one it fell under, but it was one of those labels, one of the new labels. And I know Frog-kun tried that out and really loved it. So
we should actually try and get Frog-kun on here.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, she was really saying that she.
Why hasn't she joined the Discord? We have Steiner on Discord. We have Steiner there.
Man, listen to you like try and name drop. We've got several professional translators on our Discord, and
advertising, man. You need to make it epic.
Yeah. All right. In any case, Rising of the Shield Hero. So I guess I'll do a really brief summary. Basically, guy gets summoned to another world with 3 other guys. They all appear to be from different Japans. Each of them is assigned a different weapon. The dude from our world is assigned a shield. Everybody hates him. He gets falsely accused of rape. He gets treated like garbage. He hates the world. And then, does his best to try and survive and get stronger because he doesn't want to die in this piece of garbage world that he finds himself in. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, by the way, I just want to mention that, he's the shield hero, by the way, and we'll go into more details why people believed it more, but if you think about it, the woman that, accused him, I mean, she is, an avid magic user and, probably trained in how to use a weapon and stuff. If he tried to, say, attack her to, do that, she could just, blow him away and just, be gone, no touching.
Well, I mean, it's...
Remember, shield hero, he can only defend, not attack.
Yeah, but, well, as soon as you get a bit more books, or, even in...
We're going to dive into that later, obviously.
Yeah, but the thing is...
The fact that,
The thing is, that girl, it's a whole setup. It doesn't matter, how the shield hero was, his personality, or it was a setup even before he was summoned.
I know.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
So this one,
I'm just that's basically my only problem with the accusation is just yeah, it was a setup, but you could try and make more sense.
Well,
because he doesn't have much attack power. He cannot attack. That's the point.
Yeah, but the point is, it's it doesn't make sense, but it still works because it was all set up in advance, and that's the whole thing. No one cares that it doesn't make any sense because, it's the shield hero. We hate him. So let's find a stupid reason. Go. Poof.
All right. So clearly there's something that we'll be discussing. So there is an anime airing of this already, like I said earlier. I think they just had the 9th episode on Crunchyroll as of the recording of this episode. it does appear that this first core will probably cover volumes 1 to 4, which is what we are primarily going to be talking about today. However, they've got this one set for 2 cores, right? Like it's going to be something like 25 or 26 episodes.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that means they will adapt up to like volume 8, because I think the next 4 are kind of an arc unto themselves as well.
They seem to go for like 4 episodes per book, so not sure where that will lead. Like maybe 1 to 5 or 1 to 7.
Like I mean, volume 7. Like the whole thing is that. Well, you know what? They could do more in the second core, because I do recall, like I've read the first 7 books, and I remember 6 and 7 at the time. I was kind of like, this could have been one book.
Yeah,
like it was kind of dragged out a bit.
Yeah, I read up to 6, and 6 is pretty much like a cliffhanger to be followed in 7. But
yeah,
6 and 7 are pretty much one book.
Yeah, they really are. So,
which is why I thought
possible.
the anime would end after 7, pretty much.
Yeah, I think they're going to I think they're going to shorten up volumes 6 and 7, and I think they're going to adapt at least volume 8. But anyway, that's getting beyond us right now. So we'll just sort of dive into a couple of things that we'll start with the first volume. Now, okay, so when this series premiered anime-wise, it caused a massive rift in the anime force.
For no reason at all.
Well, like, you know, we do live in a time.
There is a reason, but we can't say it. It's they who shall not be named.
Well, no, I mean, like, look. I mean, on the one hand,
watching.
On the one hand, you know, we do live in a society where, you know, things that we would have not given weight or regarded as strongly years ago, and for that reason, a lot of victims went, you know, with no justice at all. Things are changing, and that's a good thing. But, you know, when a story puts forward a narrative that basically tries to say this is a false rape accusation, there are people that feel that, particularly because we do have other segments of our society that are, you know, fighting against progress. There are certain people that feel that that's putting forward a narrative that is trying to say that all rape is false, or that women make it up to hurt men and stuff like that. And
listen, there's a difference between like believing and investigating. Like if someone's been accused of something, you should investigate it and then act accordingly. Like if someone is guilty, then punish them. But if not, then, you know.
The problem with the Shield Hero example, though, is that since it's an anime, we clearly see that Naofumi is 100% innocent because we're watching the show. So it clearly is a false rape accusation. It's not just like, oh, people on the sidelines are speculating and saying that, oh, it never happened. Like, we're watching and reading this story, and it's pretty clear from the narrative that it is a setup by the king. Because, I don't know. That's why I don't get the drama behind it really that much.
I think people just don't like having that kind of archetype. And we'll get into it. Like, there are reasons why.
There's a lot of interesting facts about like female serial killers. Which do you want me to bring up the stats for?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, you're no fun.
But like, it's a thing with like people don't want.
There's a show called Deadly Woman. You should all watch it. It's great. It's amazing.
The thing is that like people don't have like a sensitivity to certain subject matters. So like whenever some form of media uses that subject matter in their story, they're like that can't be allowed. But like the more exposure it gets,
specific case, like I felt like people were ready to complain even before the first episode aired. Like it's
the same shit about Goblin Slayer and shit. It's just people like overreacting and, you know, It's like people are too fucking sensitive, man. I mean, what the fuck happened?
But not really.
One argument that I've seen is basically it's not about Shield Hero, but it's just about the propensity of these kind of like not specifically Shield Hero, but characters that female characters that do accuse people of false rape. Like I was even watching some like crime show, and it was basically this kind of scenario where somebody was accusing somebody of false rape, or at least they thought that they accused a particular individual and then they were wrong. Like this kind of stuff, I feel like they do these stories more than they actually happen in reality, and I think that's why people don't really like. And I'm not saying Shield Hero in particular should be the one at fault for that. But it just is, there are a lot of these types of archetypes where, someone crying a foul to bring down a man or whatever. There are, examples of it. I don't have any to point to specifically, but I know there have been some articles, even just within the anime community, some anime that push that kind of narrative. And
listen. There's a thrill in like destroying someone's life and career. It doesn't matter what gender you are, but there's like a thrill in doing that. Okay, a very sadistic kind of thrill.
The amount
people do
of
it like
false rape convictions is like it's fairly low. It is still high compared to other crimes that a rape charge will get thrown out. But there's a lot more people that don't come forward historically, and so that's kind of where it's definitely not a common thing. Not saying that it
moral of the
shouldn't
story
be a
is
thing.
Humans do fucked up things for fucked up reasons. End of story.
Well, I think the thing is that what, it's because you do have people. Well, let's name them, okay? You've got people that claim to be incels, right? And I mean, a lot of these people are dicks, and they're douchebags, and they're misogynistic assholes. And I'm not saying that...
They're also sexist against men because they can't compete with the Chad because they're not like section... They're not like... They can't compete with the Chad that are stealing the quote-unquote Stacys, and that's why they like run over women and men on trucks.
Well, I'm just saying that when you have a segment of society that is pushing forward an incredibly scary and violent narrative, when you've got a segment of society that, let's face it, has already murdered people, when you have them pushing a narrative of, false rape is way more rampant, when you have them pushing a narrative of, women are manipulative and evil and blah, 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 I think that when you have a show that comes out and has that, even though it's not, I don't feel Shield Hero is pushing that narrative. It's not saying that rape doesn't exist.
No, it's just pushing the narrative that it's just this one bitch, not all. Like, that's the point.
And that's it, exactly, right? It's not pushing the narrative that rape isn't real. It's not pushing the narrative that all rape accusations are false. It's not pushing that narrative. But because it has that event happen, I think that you do have a segment of society that, are very susceptible to feeling anger and upset about that because, like I said, we do have a lot of, less than great people pushing that narrative in a completely different way.
People need to realize that this story was written in the early 2010s, back before this whole Me Too movement wasn't a big thing like it was like 2 years ago.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things, right? Like it's written like back in like early 2010s when, the Me Too movement, obviously, yes, not as strong. The whole incel movement, basically non-existent. I mean, at least not to
also written in Japan.
Not to the public eye.
Also written in Japan.
And yes, written in Japan where, yes, there is definitely a different sensibility to it, and a different cultural sensitivity and everything else. And I like my take on the whole thing Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. For the record, we do not know much about the author. We don't even know if the author is a man or a woman. Like many light novel authors, the author of Shield Hero is an incredibly private person that has, I think, only issued maybe 1 or 2 written interviews, and that's about it. And most of them, there's not like a ton of stuff in the interview. But taking a look at it, what I see in Shield Hero when it comes to the rape accusation is, and it actually goes to the whole slave thing too, because we'll get into the slavery thing too. When you take a look at Shield Hero and you take a look at the story in general, you find that the story is pretty blunt. You know, a lot of things happen because they either have to happen or they happen because it's the easiest way for things to get fixed. And for me, when I look at the whole false rape accusation, I see that as an author who was like, I want to tell a story about a guy who is summoned to another world, and instead of being treated like an amazing hero, like what happens in, 98% of other isekais.
It's almost like a deconstruction of like your typical isekai. Like the other heroes kind of act like your typical isekai protagonist. It's just like, oh, I got magic powers, women and men will worship me, blah. And like Nafumi's just like, man, this world is fucking shit. All I've got is like this dinky little shield.
Well, and this is it, right? Like, if you take a look at Shield Hero and you kind of look at like the author's intention, the author clearly intended that those people who fulfill the typical archetype of the isekai, they're strong and savvy and everybody loves them, are complete D-bags. And then the guy who is actually a fairly decent guy is the one who gets treated like dirt and thrown out. To me, if I'm an author and I want to set that up, what is the fastest way to destroy a person's reputation without them, with it just being their word against someone else's word? And I'm not saying it's right, but I mean, if we take a look even at today's society right now, if a man is accused of rape, be it true or not, I'm not arguing whether it's true or not, but the second a person is credibly accused of rape, his reputation is destroyed, whether he's guilty or not. Right? Court of public opinion will rule against him, even if that never goes to trial.
Yeah, it's guilty before proven innocent instead of like innocent till proven guilty. Like that's supposed to be like the judges. Like the judges, you're innocent till proven guilty, not guilty till proven innocent.
And I mean, and I'm not, and I don't want to get deep into that debate because
we're not a political channel.
No.
And
and you know what, there are lots of sides to each argument. I'm not, and again, I'm not taking a side. I'm just saying that to me, when I look at some of the lazy writing that occurs in Shield Hero, what's the easiest crime that Naofumi can be accused of that people are going to see him as a dirtbag, and there's no body needs to be produced, he doesn't need to figure out who the real killer is or anything like that. It's just a crime that is their word against his word, and because this person has, more people know this person, their word is taken as being the truth. And when you want to put into that parameter, rape is a pretty easy answer, right? I mean, and again, as the audience, we know Naofumi didn't do it. And again, like we know that eventually it's an easy way, that crime is easily expunged from his record. We'll talk about that later, but you know what I mean? Again, like once that, all the author thinks to themselves is, once she's proved a liar, this goes away. And I can move on to other stuff in the story.
It's like the boy who cried wolf, Like when the wolf actually came, no one believed the boy because he kept on bullshitting. It's almost like that kind of tale.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like it's just
like if you lie and continue lying, no one's going to trust you because who's going to trust the snake? Like eventually you'll be exposed for the snake you are and you'll be handled accordingly.
Well, I think, like I said, to me, like, it's just... It is a convenient thing for the author to do. Yeah. The author has found a quick and easy way to have Naofumi be treated like dirt by people.
Yeah, and
right?
I do feel it's a bit cheap, but like it makes sense. Like later on, it's just like the eternal logic of how it happened. Like the actual action itself. But it makes sense. Like I'm perfectly fine. I just think it was a bit cheap.
I think people jumped too quickly onto. This is episode 1. and this is the presentation, and then they didn't realize they're going to expand on why she did this. And so there are reasons down the line why she's doing this. She's not just doing this to be, again, back to the evil woman archetype. And this is kind of why Shield Hero got unfairly criticized, I think, in that regard, is they just took one episode and then, started writing their article. Sure, if they want to write that article in the first episode, maybe give it a little more time to see why she did what she did. That it's not just, she's just some crazy evil character archetype. She does have reasons to do what she's doing. And I know we'll get into some of that.
One thing
there's also those
keep
reasons,
in mind.
but also they in later volumes, because I read a bit ahead of volume 14 and further on, there's even more reasons for why she did what she did, but I'm not going to spoil it, but there's more there. There's more than just the initial other reasons. So this goes a lot deeper than you'd think, and next podcast we'll find out. But next podcast probably when we get to that point. But I'm just saying that okay, this is my cynicism talking, but there are people who are going to fuck you over. There are people who are going to be conniving and scheming and more, It's just, some people are like that, It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, but one thing to keep in mind, I don't have any stats or anything, but but the thing with false rape accusation, I have a feeling that it's more of a fiction storytelling thing than a real actual thing. I don't think it really happens that often, nor that maybe it can happen for real. You have all these investigation that would discredit any false accusation. So, but anyhow, it's the point I want to bring is that it's something that is more often used in fiction because it's, whether it's a real thing or a rightful thing, it's something that is not entertaining, but it's something that is different than reality, something that brings a sense like a soap opera. You have situation in there that doesn't really happen in real life but are close to being plausible.
It's exaggerated.
Yeah, I feel if it does happen, it's usually and again, I don't want to entertain the whole idea of it happening, but if it does happen, I think it's usually it would be something where it's somebody they know that they would be trying to accuse. It's not just some woman archetype that's taking down men for no reason. And if it was in reality, that person would obviously be mentally disturbed to begin with. That, so it's not this kind of evil woman archetype. I mean, they don't exist in reality. I think we all know that for the most part.
Listen, the only thing that exists in reality is assholes and Machiavellians. So have fun with that.
Yeah, but my point being is that these stuff are written in fiction because they are mainly close to being plausible in real life, and they bring these kind of struggle for characters, and but some people are complaining that it's not real and blah blah blah, but the fact that it's a fiction, it's not supposed to be. And yeah, I don't really have an answer as to if it's legit or not to bring a false situation within a fiction, but that's what it is.
I think the whole like you said, Jean-Luc, again, it's a tool being used in fiction, and and I think that kind of goes to what I was trying to say is that, he's the author is doing something imagine if Naofumi had been accused of murder, right? How, as an author, could you convince the audience that the king would be you know what? I know that you supposedly slit this person's throat, but hey, I'm still going to allow you to adventure around the countryside completely unattended or unfollowed or unguarded, because you're a hero, quote unquote. See you later. Like, it just, the internal logic of just about any other crime that he would have been committed, like, would have been accused of, I don't think would have worked in terms of how the rest of the story operates. Because let's face it, Naofumi walks out of the room, right? Like, he's let go free. And, and like I said, it's the only accusation that, even if it's not proven in a court of law right away, the accusation itself is enough to ruin his reputation.
You mean the kangaroo court of law, I might add.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other thing. But again, like I said, for an author looking for a quick way to get a character on the outs with society, let's accuse him of a really heinous crime, and I don't even have to worry about who's going to get killed, like where the body's going to come from or anything, because that doesn't have to be produced. I just have to go with this, and boom, reputation destroyed. Everybody thinks he's a scumbag, and later on in the story I can explain why she did it, and I can also have it made that she's proven to be a liar, and boom, it all goes away. I can wipe my hands of it. I don't have to do any weird mental gymnastics about explaining how the person was killed and how their body ended up there and blah blah. You know what I mean? Like, it's an easy, to me, it's like almost an easy, almost too obviously easy way of accomplishing what the author wanted.
Yeah.
So I don't think there was like I said, I understand why there were people angry about it. I understand why, because of all the other social things going on in society, why people would feel, would get their ranks up against this idea. But at the same time, if we can divorce ourselves from it, I think that the whole thing is that this story isn't pushing the narrative that this is a rampant thing that happens all the time. It's just pushing the narrative of, hey, this one person did this really shitty thing to Naofumi, and there was a reason why, and that's it.
Well, my only problem with the whole situation is, I might be wrong there, but I have this feeling that where Shield Hero to come out like before Goblin Slayer, I don't think it would have gotten like this whole upsetting of people about.
What I find ironic is that Goblin Slayer, which has actual rape, the drama only lasted like 1 week, and then Shield Hero, which just has rape accusations, lasted for like a full month.
It lasted until the cute raccoon girl arrived. And then that...
it actually proves why animal girls are, like, superior to normal human girls.
Well, and I mean, it was just like... and I thought that was kind of funny, right? Because, again, like, all the noise was this anger about it, and then all of a sudden Raphtalia shows up. And actually, I mean, it created a little bit of a blip in the other sort of thing that people dislike, but I think for whatever reason people have become a little bit more accepting of it in anime because anime's done it so damn much. But people were like, oh, cute raccoon girl, and all of a sudden my timeline goes from Shield Hero is incel misogynistic blah 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 to look how cute Raphtalia is, and it was just a really weird sort of, like, I almost got whiplash because it seemed to switch so fast. I don't know. It was really weird. But I think that's just because the people who were angry about Shield Hero stopped talking about it, because after that first episode, they're like, I mean, yeah, you can be angry about the slavery thing, we'll talk about that, but I don't think there was anything. The story did not push, like I said, the story didn't push the whole misogyny incel narrative that much further.
In fact, it doesn't really encourage slavery either. It's just the concept that this world has. Yes, they have slaves. Like, humans get enslaved, demi-humans get enslaved. And it's not here to promote slavery. It's just saying, like, yes, slavery is a thing here.
Well, I mean, people get upset because they're, well, whatever. You know what? I'm not here to...
Listen, the entire of human history, humans have enslaved other humans. Like, before, like, slavery was considered a progressive thing because before they would just kill you, okay?
Well, again, I'm not, whatever our own history is, everything else. But again, I think the slavery thing is really, again, an easy out for the author. Because again, if you've made your main character, nobody wants to work with him. How does he find a partner? Right? The only partner he's going to find is someone that he somehow can force to be his partner. And
with the help of like the underground and cold hard capitalism, he finds the perfect partner, a cute little raccoon girl.
I feel like the way the author like set up that slavery segment, like he tried to basically, ease you into it as much as he could. He said, this is a very common trope. Now, Fumi had read light novels that had this. He eased you into, like, this is a weird thing, obviously, but not weird for these settings.
Yeah, also the fact is that it doesn't actually, glorify it. Like, when you see Reptilia, she's, it's in a filthy, dark area. There's, darkness all around. She's in, a filthy cage, and she looks like she's nourished and stuff. I mean, it's not, glorifying in any way. It's just saying, slavery is bad, and this is what it is.
Yeah, I guess you wonder, though, if they're going to come back to it. I haven't gotten that far in the series, but you do wonder if, obviously Naofumi, he's just a new hero. He's not going to be able to take out, slavery as a concept at this point. But you do wonder if down the line that would be something they would explore.
Well, I think, I'm not sure if it's spoiler for the first 4. I think it's actually explained, in the third or maybe fourth volume. But the thing is, it's not just in that country that there's slavery against the demi-human. There are other country of demi-human that enslaves human. So it's not a problem only in that kingdom that can be magically solved. It's something worldwide. So, and with other stuff that goes on in this series that takes the story elsewhere, well, let's just say that I'm not too sure if they're gonna come back to that concept.
I mean, the thing is that the whole idea of the whole idea of the slavery is based heavily in racism, right? Like you said, the countries that are populated mostly with demi-humans, their slaves are mostly human. In the country of mostly humans, the slaves are mostly demi-humans, right?
There's also those countries have gone to war with each other, yes. And there's a lot of bad blood as well, and a lot of dehumanizing. So it's understandable.
Yeah,
a lot of people from World War II, they absolutely there was this dude who I heard of or knew who wouldn't accept any products from Japanese because he fought in the Pacific Theater against the Japanese. Okay. Those things do happen.
And I think that's, well, I mean, you know what, again, right? You look through human history, the conquered become enslaved and the conquerors make them slaves, right? It happens often.
I came, I saw, I conquered.
Yeah, the Roman Empire, it thrived on slavery. It's because of slavery that it became what it became.
But I mean, regardless, I mean, again, right? Regardless, to me, when I look at Shield Hero, I am this is, again, the easy out for the author, right? Because the author has created a situation where Naofumi does not trust anybody. Naofumi hates the world. Naofumi is hated by everybody else, but Naofumi cannot fight. All he can do is defend. So I need him to be able to fight. Not to mention, this person being a light novel author was also kind of I need a cute girl in this series because nobody wants to read a book about an angry dude for the entire time. So you know what? Again, the same
I don't know.
way...
Berserk sells pretty well.
Well, but I'm just saying, I think for the demographic,
Griffin!
For the demographic, this person was definitely going for. I think that when it boils down to it, they were what is the easy answer? Because again, the same way that to me the false rape accusation was an easy answer in terms of how do I make this character disliked. The whole thing about, well, it's easy. He buys a slave. Right? She can't disobey him. I can have her be a cute girl, and she has no choice but join his party because he buys her. Problem solved. Ta-da! Like, it's easy. It's easy. And I really think that again, like, I think that's sort of what the impetus behind the whole thing is. The light novel, I think, does like Terrence was saying, like, the light novel, I think, does a little better job of prefacing the whole slavery thing too, because in a lot of light novels and a lot of anime where people are angry about slavery and they're like, oh, it's pro-slavery because the main character is basically like, oh, they have slaves, I'll buy one. Naofumi, like, you aren't in Naofumi's head as much in the anime as you are in the light novels, because the light novels are all first person.
In the light novel he was kind of hesitant because it's just like, I mean, if you look at it before, I mean, it's a very like dodgy place, and he's like, he doesn't really have a choice. It's either that or die, okay? And hey, and given in that situation, like, hey, I don't like slavery as well, but if I need a partner and I need to survive because I can't, attack and I can only defend, like, you better damn believe I am picking up that raccoon girl.
Well, and that's, yeah. So I think, again, like, that's, so again, like, I don't think that, I think that that's kind of the problem with the anime I find in general, and I mean, we'll get more to other stuff. I think that the anime, a lot of people see it a certain way, and it's because they don't know the whole thing about Naofumi and how Naofumi acts and how Naofumi views the world around him. Because like you said, Bio, like, the whole thing is that he hates this world so much, and his only goal is that he doesn't want to die in this piece of garbage world. And so, yeah, he's basically like, I'm going to do what I have to survive.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Because humanity is anything but resilient. I mean, I've heard stories of during war where people were eating like drywall just to survive. So,
all right. So,
whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, we've kind of talked about the whole rape accusation. We talked about Raphtalia getting slave Raphtalia. Do you guys want to talk about Philo? Do you just want to talk about Volume 1? Get that sort of out of the way.
Can we talk about like the other heroes?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, like, the other heroes, they kind of like, like, think of like Subaru in a sense. Like, they're like well-meaning. Like, my impression of like the other three heroes is they're kind of like Subaru in a sense. Like, they're very well-meaning at well-meaning, but they're also like very incredibly flawed.
Well,
like,
that was
they're just kind of like idiots.
Like that
at times.
That was my I'll say this. It was my view of them in the anime, but not in the light novel. Like, in the light novel, they really came out as douchebags.
Yeah, they are kind of douchebags, but you know what's the great thing of like douchebag characters is there's a lot of room to grow.
Yeah.
And eventually they will grow. It's just you have to suffer through their incompetency, because like a couple of buddies of mine brought this up. Like, they pretty much act like your typical like isekai protagonist. It's like almost everything is like handed to them, like, in a sense, like they're basically like they're treated fine. Like, they get no shit. It's just everything's like easy for them. They have no challenge except for like Naofumi. He has to fight against this system's government for help, for fuck's sakes.
Well, the problem is that
girl and the chicken.
The problem is that since they all come from different Japans, and they treat this world like it's one of their video games, they like pretty much think they're like, oh, we're the main character of a video game, so like we can just do whatever. But now Fumi,
yeah, exactly. And they don't even fear like death. Like, they don't even fear death. They think, oh, it's just a video game. I'll just reset. And then like they know the rules of their game, and they'll get into this later in later volumes. But they're like, they don't even communicate with each other. They're like, oh yeah, I know this game. I got this. And like, so they don't share knowledge between each other beyond the initial handful of things they share with Naofumi.
They kind of fixed it a bit in the anime, but in the novel, they really are ignoring each other's point of view. Like, it's as like they do not want to understand that the other people are coming from a different Japan with a different game. In the anime, a bit less. Like, they really state that each of them are from a different world. But in the book, like, my understanding of the thing is that they refuse to accept the fact that they're from a different world. Like, to them, their world is the truth. Everyone else is liar. And that's where I found them to be a douchebags, or like brats that just plays the game without any concern whatsoever for anything. But the thing is, it's kind of frustrating if you're in Naofumi's shoes, like trying to make the best out of everything, but they don't want to communicate. They don't want to accept that there might be not necessarily wrong, but that everything they think are right might not be everything that there is.
Like, if you think about it, like, these heroes are summoned as a team. Like, they're supposed to be a team, you know? Like, Naofumi is like the tank of the party. You know, the arrow guy, he's like DPS, he's long range support. The spear dude, he's like, you know, hit and run tactics, and like, you know, like, they're supposed to be a team. Like, to like separately they are weak, but together they become strong.
Well, they're not.
Well, the problem with the series is that the king and the nobles pretty much tell them this bullshit that, oh, the reason why the heroes can't party up is because the 4 holy weapons, when they're too close to each other, they counteract each other, so it keeps you from like grinding or leveling up or whatever, which sounds like some really bullshit excuse just to have them so they can't work together.
But
and like the problem is
they're still
that
like a team, they're still on the same side.
well,
yeah,
like,
but
they're on the same side as in they're trying to
save
protect
this
people
world from the waves.
They're on the same side.
And it's almost like they're fighting against each other. It's like they act like perpetual children. It's like, no, I don't want to save the world. Wah! And Nafumi's like, this is not a game. You need to save this world. We're fucked.
The problem with the characters is that Motoyasu is an easily manipulated idiot, and then Ren is basically Kirito, who thinks he can just solo everything, and then Itsuki has a giant god complex. So none of them are mentally like sound people.
Yeah, but the thing is, well, like, beside what Gundam was saying, like, it's like these people, yeah, they're being brought together, but they're not supposed to be. Like, you learn a little bit later that they're supposed to each go in different place in the world, because the calamity doesn't arrives only in that country. It's all over the place. So they need to strengthen up, and they need to go each their own way. But all of them, they're just focused on the smaller things. Like, they don't see the big picture. They don't want any part in that big picture. They only want to level up and feel good about themselves. It's
because they still treat it like it's a video game.
Yeah, exactly.
And
almost like it's almost like an empowerment fantasy.
Since Naofumi wasn't really that big a gamer, he wasn't really into like grinding back in his world. From what I know, he was more into being like a guild leader and like merchant stuff, which is why in like Volume 2 he does a lot of like he treats himself more as like a merchant, where he's like selling medicine from town to town. But like, since he isn't so like gamer obsessed, he treats the world like how you're supposed to. Like, you're in another world. This isn't just a game just because it has some game mechanics. But like, the other heroes treat it like
you would think that they would figure that this is the real world. I mean, you feel pain, right? Like, the pain is real. Like, you feel things, all right? It's not a game.
You see
only one
you
of
see
them.
A window.
Only one of them. Yeah. Only one of them has nerve gear or whatever, maybe.
I mean, yeah, well, so, Ren, like Ren the sword dude, he can't swim. Like, he nearly drowned to death in one of the future volumes. I mean, clearly that's real. He could have died. If no one was there to save his ass, he could have died. You're saying it's a game now. Like, it's life or death, and you people, like, dicking around, you're toying with people's lives. You're supposed to be heroes.
Yeah, but
you're supposed to save this world, not fucking destroy it.
Well, it's more of like another, you have the power, so it goes to your head kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. If you've got the power of a walking nuclear tank, you're not going to be like dicking around with it. You're going to be careful with it because you could destroy things you don't want to.
One thing
you got to direct that power.
The most unbelievable thing, though, is that they're all from different Japans, so they all think the world is similar to a different video game that is from their universe, and all three of them tell Naofumi that the tank class is a shitty class that no one ever likes or plays. That sounds like a giant horse shit. Like, you're telling me nobody plays
D&D,
tanks?
I can tell you that, like, the tank class is, like, essential. Because guess what?
The
tanks
tank class is essential in every
major damage
RPG.
That most of the party members can't do it. Like, for example, we're playing D&D, and I'm the tank, and say, Flyz, you're the sorcerer. You're about to get hit by, like, some enemy with magic uses fireball spell. I block that attack, and I take the hit. But now you can cast your magic spell, and you've just wiped out that wizard and his entire party because I took the hit for you. That's basically a tank. You're a damage sponge. That's your job.
I guess one of the arguments against the shield was basically when you get into the later tires of the games, you get what is that like when they can damage you and it goes right through the shield piercing.
You're saying when you get to higher levels,
like
the extreme defense of the tank starts to subside to the point where like it pretty much becomes useless.
Yeah.
What kind of like game does that? That's like a horrible balance issue.
Well, I think the thing is that like Jean-Luc was saying, like with each of the heroes, the thing is that I think we get the impression pretty early on that they are really immature and that
flawed.
And they've got these complexes, like, Motoyasu, he wants to be like, he thinks he's a ladies' man. And, we also find out the ridiculous ways that they ended up in this world that, kind of reflect their personalities too.
Basically, isekai cliche deaths for each of them.
And I think, and that's the thing. And like, this
the
is
way
where...
that Spear Hero died, I kind of like, it was kind of like...
I don't remember
if...
Was his death revealed in the first 4 volumes? I don't want to mention it if it wasn't.
It wasn't, but I read the Spear Hero light novel, and they like reveal it and what he was thinking, and it's just kind of like, oh dear, that just is horrid.
Look it up if you want to know.
You know what? Like, I think the thing is that if you look at the Shield Hero in a way that it's kind of like trying to play around with the whole isekai genre. I think what it's trying to do is like the 3 heroes are basically your typical isekai protagonists. They're the ones that find themselves in a world like the game they played, and so they approach it like that game because they are the hero of that game, and the hero has to become the strongest, and blah 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 blah. And it's like now Fumi was saying with that whole thing where they kill the dragon, right? Oh, he didn't think to actually dispose of the dragon because in a game you wouldn't. In a game, the dragon would just disappear. It wouldn't cause any problems leaving the corpse lying around, right?
Yeah, or like how similar, like at the same time as that happening, how Motoyasu went into that cave that has the sealed seed to solve the famine, but it pretty much it's pretty much like if someone goes through a quest and they just like skip through all the dialogue just to get the quest over with without finding out the details. It's like you would think it's sealed inside a cave for a reason, but he just thinks, "Oh, it's a seed. It's a seed, so it's going to solve the famine," and then it ends up making everything worse.
Like I said before, some of these people, they're well-meaning. Like he's trying to do good, but he doesn't stick around to see the effects. Like if he had stuck around, and maybe he could have seen what was happening. He's like, "Oh shit, I've got to fix this problem immediately." All right, I'm sorry, people. That was my fault. We're going to try something again. But no, they just kind of F off and leave. I
think to some extent, them getting payment from the king, they haven't had to do a whole lot in terms of some of the characters. They're staying secret and in hiding because I can be the hero and save the day. But if they weren't getting the compensation from the king, I feel like they would be forging more bonds with the towns and making sure that everything is on the up and up.
Dude, if I'm like in this world and I'm like quote unquote a hero and I'm like saving people, I want to make sure that my work isn't going to shit. Like if I'm trying to help a famine, I'm gonna stick around to make sure that things are going well. And if things are going to shit, I'll be like, okay, I made a bad whoopsie. I'm gonna have to fix this, and we're gonna have to try Plan B and then C.
Well, no. Now Fumi told the villagers, like the village chief, that like when he finished solving Moteyasu's problem that he caused, he pretty much told them, the villagers, just because someone's called a hero, don't trust that they know what they're doing. Like just from that.
Well, I think there's like an immaturity to it. Like they didn't wait to see what would happen. They just kind of like went up and fucked off. Like. You would think that they would wait a bit and be patient, like wait a couple of days to see how everything is going, or like say to them like, okay, we have to be off now, but please, we're going to be here in a few days. So if anything bad happens, just send us a message and I will come back.
But again, I think that's the whole thing, is the author is showing you how, in other isekai books, you have main characters approaching the world. Oh, it's like my video game. So they're approaching it with that video game logic. Video game logic is, I solved the quest, I'm out of here because I got to move on to the next quest, right? And that's exactly what these guys are doing. They're like, oh, there's a big problem. Oh, I solved the problem. I can get out of here now because everything works out, because that's the way it works in a game, right? Second you solve the problem,
and in real world you have to stay.
Good.
Yeah, and in real world you have to stay and see the effects of it.
And
if I'm like helping people, I'm going to make sure that what I do is going to be decent, that nothing bad's going to happen, and then I'm going to leave, or I'll hang around. But
that's the whole point, and I think that's where the author is trying to set Naofumi apart from the other heroes, and how, if this book has one really good thing going for it in the first four volumes, it is how the author is successfully saying, hey, a character who comes to another world and acts like it's the video game that they played is a douchebag and causes more damage than good. The guy who comes here with no knowledge and is basically forced to live amongst the people and to scrape his way along and to, use and abuse the system to try and get through his day-to-day, actually ends up becoming the stronger and better hero because, like you said, he treats it like a real world. He stays around. He sees what happens. He's like, how can I... just because I solved this problem, there might be a new problem I can capitalize on tomorrow to make some more money, or to, or to try and make more connections and stuff like that. So he does hang around. It's that same thing where with the first wave hits, right? What do the other heroes do? They run off to fight the boss because that's going to give you the best drop items and the best experience. What does Naofumi do? He sticks around the village. He helps the people because that's what he's done. He's lived amongst the people, and he sees that.
Like that's kind of like what you are as the classical hero. You are a champion for the people. Like you live among the people. You're like this walking legend. Like, yes, you're better than all of them, but you still live among them because they're there to humble you. Essentially, they're there to remind you what you fight for. Okay.
Well, and I think that's the funny part and that is kind of the funny part about the whole series. And I think that, again,
Naofumi eventually realizes what he is fighting for, and you get a strength from that because you have conviction now. He knows what he's fighting for. These other heroes, it's just like, I need to get that fucking extra item. I need to get, I need to power game and power level, They don't give a shit about bonds, and like their teammates. I mean, their whole their parties that they eventually team up with, they all betrayed them. Either they all betrayed the heroes eventually. Spoilers.
Now Fumi doesn't really act like much of a hero anyway. He doesn't use that title often, and pretty much acts like a normal guy. Like when he does a good service to a village, he's not doing it for free. He still wants payment for it. But he just treats himself like he's a normal
charity.
It's as if the author wanted to bring forward a main character that typically in any other book would be a hero. We kind of associate the main character of an isekai with the hero character type, but it's like the author wanted to stray away from that. So basically, he has the premise of being a hero, but he doesn't do anything with it. Naofumi just act like a normal person would, like not necessarily novel or game hero.
I do wonder if Naofumi didn't go through the hardships that he did at the beginning, because it felt like in the first few pages he was ready to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start this heroic quest. Yes, we're gonna do this, and then obviously the bad thing happens to him, and then he's like, oh, I don't give a crap about this world. I have to do this thing.
Yeah, well, I think before, I think he
it.
would have taken, even if the bad shit didn't happen, I still think he would have taken it somewhat seriously because of, like, his personality.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's a bit more of a realist.
Well, and because he doesn't have that bias, right? Because he never played a game, because he has no knowledge of this world. He never played a game, he never read, like, even the book he read was incomplete, right?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, like, he tries to, like, learn about this world, he tries to find books, he tries to learn how to read the language, he's trying to, seek, the deep lore, as they say, about this world, because he doesn't know the rules about this world, he doesn't know anything, what potions, what herbs or things can he use to make potions, what kind of magic do they have here, do they even have magic, what, do they have, like, fighting styles or martial arts, or, some way he can get stronger as teammates, he doesn't know that. So he has to go and, with that deep lore.
Well, I mean, it's one of the things that they don't really, again, when you're talking about light novel versus anime, with the light novels, and I mean, we'll focus on the light novels primarily, but for those who are watching the anime, there's a lot more game mechanic type things in the light novels than we've seen in the anime. And one of the things, remember, in the light novels is that there is that whole help menu, and Naofumi often is, like you said, Bio, he's reading like every single scrap of that help menu to try and learn how to use his abilities. The book goes into a lot of detail about the abilities of each shield that he unlocks, and he studies the effects of it and everything else. Like, I feel like in the books he uses the shields like in such imaginative ways, and really uses his ability to be able to swap out the different shields with different abilities and everything else.
Yeah, well, okay, listen, man, like a wise man said, knowledge is power, okay? It's like another, it's like another tool to your belt. Like, it's like, those martial artists who's just like, they got the crane style, now they're going with the tiger style, and now they're going with the snake style. Like, that's like a shield. It's just like, okay, you've seen that trick, I'm going to pull out my other trick. Oh, first you saw tiger style, now I'm going to pull out dragon style, then raccoon style, then chicken style. You haven't seen that style before, haven't you? And, like, with these other heroes, they just flashy sword attack! Oh, shoot arrow good. Like, they're not learning about the deep lore or learning more about this world. They're just sticking to, like, their typical shit, which is why they fucking fail.
No, because you
didn't diversify, you didn't change, you didn't evolve, you didn't learn.
They think that they already know everything about that game, so they don't need to do, like, Naofumi and read stuff. Like, they think that all the knowledge they have is the rightful one. So they won't look past what they know, and that's where is Naofumi's strength. Like, he wants to learn.
Like a wise man knows that he does not know everything, and that's why you seek more knowledge, because it's like, broaden your horizons, find that deep lore, find a different view, because like you're broadening your worldview and you're connecting the dots.
Bio, like, you're assuming that these three characters are wise. I'm learning
more about it, and now I've got a broader perspective.
We already know these three characters are not the brightest in the bunch.
No, and the other thing
is, seek out that deep lore.
Well, I do wonder what, like, I kind of mentioned this in the chat way earlier. Is like, why did they get singled out? For, and we don't really know, what the process is at this point.
If I remember correctly, it's like
in.
Each of the heroes have like a certain characteristic, and they just kind of got chosen at random. Like, I think like the spear hero is supposed to be very like, I think it's like the arrow or thing is supposed to be really earnest. It's more like inside kind of thing. So maybe these other dudes do have that nature, but you just got to like bring it out. You've got to, it's like that, it's like the Devil Trigger song, gotta let it out, gotta let it out.
Well, I think the other issue that you have too is that, and I mean, you see this with like the whole.
Also, they're young teenagers, okay? So, like, not every teenager is going to be mature.
Well, no, and I mean, the other thing that you see about it happening too is that, remember, and I mean, we see this in that whole episode in Volume 1 where, they go back to the castle and there's that whole fight about trying to free Raphtalia and all that kind of stuff. You see that, like, the people that the other heroes have surrounded themselves with are a bunch of yes men, right? Like, they're basically, the thing is that nobody sits there and questions them. Nobody sits there and doubts them. Nobody says, hey, maybe what you're doing isn't exactly the best way of accomplishing this.
Like, they don't feel like a team, man. Like, in a team you'd have someone who would, you'll have that dude who disagrees with you a lot, and then maybe he would have a point. Like, say, for example, like, the leader of this particular team, he's a really big softie, and, like, his second in command is like a hardcore pragmatist, and the hardcore pragmatist is saying, it's just like, yeah, we can spare this person, but who's to say that, this person won't stab us in the back, and the softy guy in the main is just like, you do have a point there. Like, there's never that second opinion. It's just like, maybe we should try this, and it's just like, maybe we should try that. That could be a better idea. There's never like this team dynamic, because like, they should just gone solo and found they would have had a better time if they just went solo.
Well, I think too, like, I mean, if you take a look at the relationship between like Raphtalia and Naofumi primarily, but I mean even Philo gets into it as well, is that you see Raphtalia openly question Naofumi. And Raphtalia herself is at times almost like Naofumi's Jiminy Cricket, right? Like, she's sort of his moral compass in a way. Like, she's the one that's kind of like, okay, you're going too far with this, like.
Yeah, and you need that, like, yeah, teamwork is great and all, and sometimes people need to be by themselves or think for themselves, but you maybe need someone to say, like, are you sure that's a good idea? Like, really sure? Like, doubt. Like, okay, doubt is negative, but like sometimes it's a good idea to have doubt when you're about to do something potentially stupid.
Well, I think too, like, it's again, I think that whole focusing of, as I said, the author, like I said again, we can slag on things, but I think the one place that the author got it right is that because Naofumi can only defend, well, you need someone to defend. Like, you know what I mean? Like you need a reason to defend. And ultimately, if you're stuck with monsters, you need someone that, okay, it's great to defend for a while, but eventually you have to attack. And so, even Naofumi, just by the nature of him being the shield hero, he needs other people. He needs to rely on other people. And of course, that's kind of the joke of it all, right? Is because he can't rely on other people initially because of how he sees the whole world, right? And that's, like I said, why I think the whole slave thing ends up being a workaround, is that he doesn't have to initially trust Raphtalia because he's like, she's going to do what I say because she's my slave, right? But yeah, like I think, like, Jean-Luc brings up some good points and stuff about this whole, when you're the hero in your own story and you can defeat the enemies yourself, then it's really easy to surround yourself with nothing but a bunch of yes men who support you and think you're the greatest, and to just keep doing things the way you do it. But when you're Naofumi and you realize, I can't defeat anything on my own, all I can do is stand against it.
It's more like a more realistic take, because, like, sure, like, even if you're really talented, okay, you could do a lot of things, but you're gonna need help. You can't do everything by yourself. It's like that thing, like, with ReZero, with Subaru. Eventually, like, with Subaru, it just became too much for him to handle on his own, and that's when he got help. Okay? Like, in a realistic sense, I mean, if you look at some of these, like, famous military leaders and stuff, I mean, they had people that disagreed with them all the time. They had people that would yell and argue at them, and they even had gone to fights with their own, like, command staff. Okay? Like, that happens.
Yeah, and I think it's just that again, like, it is showing that whole difference about, the author is using the other heroes as a foil, right? The author is basically saying, like, here's your really atypical RPG protagonist. Look what kind of a douchebag they are.
Also, there's there's this kind of well, maybe not meme, but stuff that is going about like in RPGs when you just enter some random people's house, you break some pots, you steal stuff, and it's all okay because it's a game. But like in some story, like they kind of like bring that problem to life. Like, I mean, you're not in a game, so you can't just do whatever you want to do.
No, well, there's consequences, okay? Like, there's a positive and negative, consequences happening, and, like, these other dudes, they don't accept it. They just, like, la 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 la, didn't happen, not my fault, la 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 la. And Fumi's just like, yeah, and he's, like, cleaning up your shit for you. Like, if I remember correctly, like, when Ren heard about what happened, he's just kind of like, oh my fucking god. Like, he's not, like, apologetic, but he, like, thanks Nafumi, because he's just like, oh god, I did fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, at least there are times when they admit they were wrong, but like it takes like a long time for them to develop being like, and this is like kind of spoilers, but just like, oh my god, I've been acting like a complete fucking tool. I need to like redeem myself.
Yeah, and even when like the queen and everybody's like, all right, you guys need to start working together, they're still so antagonistic, like, and not like really wanting to believe each other at that point
because they're too prideful.
Hey, it's pride. It's pride before the fall, and they fall hard.
Well, and that's
into a face full of concrete. But anyway, it's like those classical texts. Pride became before the fall, and then you fall, and then you rise up like a phoenix. Kaka.
Well, you know what? I mean. Well, okay. So, I mean, needless to say, I think we've kind of beat the whole, like, other three heroes to death with a stick, which is probably what they deserve. But let's move on.
Hey, it's better to get this out of the way first before we move on to, like, the next, like, arc.
Well, you know what? I mean, again, right? Like, it's just showing how the series controls things. And, I mean, even, like... Even what I find is kind of funny is like when we, volume 2, of course, I mean, it's, I don't know, like other than Philo, it's mostly just the continuation of his journeys, right? Like it's not until, I'm trying to think of where volume 2 ends.
Volume 3.
Well,
it's volume 3 when the really juicy stuff starts happening.
Yeah. Like volume 2 is basically still... Yeah.
Volume 2 is mostly slice of life
is basically
stuff.
just like, oh, look at this. It's another fucking cute lolly that you bought off this beast slave trader again. Isn't she cute? And we're making her clothes for her. She's like a little doll. She's like an angel. With her pure, with her Aryan blue eyes and blonde hair and her little angel wings. And oh, she turned into a little chicken. Oh, now she's a big chicken. Oh, how cute. And she can also and she also sings and pulls carts.
Well, I mean, you know what? Like, yeah. Well, really, I mean, volume 2, I mean, the main things are Raphtalia has the slave curse reapplied, which, man, that caused a little bit of a rumble out of people. But you know what? I read that part again in the book, and I was like, man, Naofumi actually really fights her on that. Like, he doesn't want her to do it. And it's, like, mostly her that's pushing for it.
Well, like she pushes for it, and he never. I don't think he ever really uses it ever again. So it just makes me question it.
Yeah, he tells someone what is it? Which volume it is? Basically, like that he disabled basically everything.
So that just makes me even scratch my head even more. Why it was even necessary? I guess booby tattoos were just sexy. I guess so. They put it back.
Yeah, but it's more like in the book at that point. Naofumi isn't really healed up yet. Like his mind is still doubtful, and Raphtalia knows this. So basically, her getting back the curse is basically her way of saying him like, "I want you to feel safe," or like she wants him to give time for his mind to heal up, and not having anything like processing is in his head, like that he would have to worry about her betraying him or any other stuff. So I think it's basically just it's not really necessary, but I think just for the relationship in the characters, like you kind of show that she cares. She cares about him, and
like he doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be fixed. Like he clearly doesn't trust anybody else. But like you would think with the whole confession at the end of the duel, and the anime version left it out, even though it's in the light novel and the manga version. But the whole kiss scene and him like thanking her, like it implies that she, like, though he isn't trusting, she's become the only person who he can trust. But then they go the next volume and they say, "Oh no, you still can't trust me," and I'm just like kind of wishy-washy on that.
Yeah,
plot
you're
point.
right. But also, like Justice was saying at the beginning, like I think it's just like a plot point to bring them back to the slave house.
The slave trader. Yeah. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's to bring them back there so that they can buy the lottery egg, and there comes Philo.
Yeah. I think it's because the author realized the author wrote volume 1 and finished it and realized, I'm going to make Raphtalia sort of the love interest for Naofumi as time goes by. But God damn it.
Who he treats as a daughter, by the way, so...
I lost my adorable lolly. I need a lolly. I need another lolly. Where am I going to get a lolly?
We need more lollies.
Right?
Go buy.
Like that's... Yeah, so where do we get the lolly? I know. I'll have them buy the lolly.
Go buy a lollipop.
Yeah, it's before like Raphtalia gets into a big titty Oni-san stage. She's just like, I run a Fumi-kun. When she levels up high enough.
Yeah, like I think that yeah, I lean towards the whole lazy writer thing. I think the author was just like, I need a lolly for this group, and where am I going to get it?
One of the things I wanted to address really quickly, I think this is based on a web novel that it's been cleaned up a little bit obviously for the light novel, but like I think. There's certain aspects that don't get introduced early, and then they just kind of throw them in there later. And it felt like the author realized, I need to go somewhere with this story. Oh, okay, it's a matrilineal, society. And then in the anime, they start introducing some of that stuff earlier, I've heard.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like there are some aspects where it's like, he was writing the web novel, and he's like, "Oh crap, I need to do this thing."
Yeah, but then again,
so then he did
I think it's only something that he kind of pushed out there without too much thinking, because, like, all the matriarchal society stuff is only relevant to the crown. Like, when you look around in the city, like, there's nothing that gives you the impression that it's a matriarchal society.
Yeah, it was just to get the queen as a strong opposing force to trash,
exactly.
I guess.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's it, exactly. Like I said, I mean, if you really just take a look at the Shield Hero and you're just kind of like, what's the easy answer? Almost 9 times out of 10, that's what happens in the book.
The good, reliable matriarchy. And if only enough now Nofumi will establish his patriarchy and be a true hero and oppress all women.
Oh, wow.
Just joking.
Yeah.
Well, even like, I know Bio wants to get to the religion. Like, even the religion, like the head guy is, it's a male priest is the head of the religion. Like, the matriarchy doesn't, extend to there either.
Well, and again, I don't think that like the light novel, when I was reading the light novel, I did not get the idea that the society was necessarily a matriarchy. I just got the idea that the crown was passed along the female line.
I mean, some kingdoms have done that. Like, majority it's like male and sometimes it's female. Like, it just depends. Like, it just depends on, like, the culture and stuff.
Yeah, the anime adds some lines, though, that make it sound like men kind of have to acquiesce to, like, women in that society. Like, that if they're propositioned, they have to, like, some people were kind of trying to twist it, but it's almost like women hold the power, so men, should chase, women for that power. It almost sounded like they were trying to say it was not just royalty, but just overall.
Yeah, the anime is kind of unclear and makes it seem like it's a lot more of a feminist society when it's really just like it's ruled by a queen, where the king is like on the side, versus like normal history where it's the opposite.
Yeah, I like I said, the light novel, as far as I know, never really makes it sound that. Yeah,
it's just we've got a matriarchy, deal with it. Like, this is how it runs. This is how we roll. I mean, that's how the queen rolls. She is the alpha female. Caca! I am in charge. Here is another female challenges the alpha female for dominance.
Anyway, so we get Philo, and then we go into volume 3, which is really like volume 3 and 4. This story really actually bothers to pick up.
Yeah, I would say that like this is one of like the highlights of the story. Like, there's a few parts, like this series as a whole, from what I've read, there's some parts that are kind of like but like when the series picks up, it gets as like a jump in quality.
Volume 2 is definitely the weakest volume in the first arc.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, again, right? Like, I think because Volume 1, like, I mean, you think about it, like, Volume 1 has the introduction to the world, it has the first wave, it has all that kind of stuff, and then Volume 2 is like basically chicken lolly and cleaning up the other heroes' mess, right? Like, that's.
I think Volume 3 too, they start to introduce the sort of the human element of the waves too, and that felt like the author, like, I don't know if he had that planned out, again, saying this is a web novel originally. Like, the first 2 volumes don't hint at that a ton. Like, when Volume 3 happens, it is like, Naofumi even comments on it. The wave is something that we thought was just like a natural disaster, but there's a more human element to it. And, like, I don't know, what to do with that, but it feels like the story becomes like something else kind of entirely at that point.
Yeah, you're right. Like, it does. It just it changes. Like I said, like, books 3 and 4 change a lot, because that's where you start getting that whole the church plays a lot bigger role. In particular, like, actually, funny enough, I just watched the 9th episode of the anime today, and Naofumi, that's where he goes to the church to get Raphtalia to lift the curse that was cast on her because of the curse shield when he destroys the dragon in Volume 2. And he comments on the fact that there's only the 3 weapons on top of the church. And, that's where, like, book 3, we start finding out that there's the whole thing against the shield hero goes a hell of a lot deeper than just,
It basically goes back to, like, the first shield hero, essentially. Like, this is, like, because, interesting fact, like, all shield heroes, without a fail, have always, like, been involved with demi-humans, which this country is kind of, racist against. So there's also that, like, political angle there, and the fact that, like, this nation has been at war with demi-humans for a long time, and here's a person whose predecessors have consistently sided with demi-humans, helped demi-humans, and is generally pro-demi-human, and they're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And the opposite is that the shield hero is like they're like a saint for the demi-humans. They worship the very ground he walks upon. In fact, in the first episode, those people, those dodgy people who, like, said to Naofumi, it's just like, yeah, we'll party with you, and Naofumi told them to fuck off. Yeah, we find out those people, all of them mysteriously died. Like, they just, it's really odd. It's just like, suicide by, like, stabbing yourself, like, a bunch of thousands of times and then jumping off a bridge. It's really fucking odd, man. It's really odd. Like, I wonder why. Maybe you shouldn't have talked bad about their saint. It's really odd, man. It's really odd.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's it exactly. Like, Volume 3, like, I mean, obviously the demi-human thing we've known since even when he got Raphtalia, we knew that demi-humans were kind of lowly regarded. But we start getting into this whole political thing where, and this is where we find out, like, that Melromark, the king of the Melromark, was not supposed to summon the heroes. He wasn't supposed to summon.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, a few of the countries were supposed to summon the heroes separately. Like Shield Hero, Nafumi, he was supposed to be in the demi-human country and the demi-humans, like, they nearly went to a war. Like, it's like, how dare you take our saint from us, you asshole. Yeah. We're going to get back, we're going to get him back, come hell or high water. We are returning the saint. He must be blessed. He must do his royal vestments. He's like the Pope. It's like, the Pope is like crash landed in some like, non-Catholic country and he's being held hostage. I mean, you better damn believe that they're going to get him back. You have taken you have taken something from us.
One of the things I was kind of curious about, I didn't really catch it. I was, rereading quickly. They obviously, Melromark summons the heroes. They shouldn't have. Was that all on Trash's, orders? Was that he just did it and it wasn't what the Queen told him to either?
Like the Queen said to him, summon one of the heroes. Shield Hero will be summoned to the demi-humans, and the other two will figure that out. Like they were supposed to one country would take I think it's like the main countries would take one of the heroes, and take them where they need to be. Because, the Queen knew about, that fucking church thing, and it's not, she said, basically, it's not fair if Shield Hero gets summoned here, and we're giving him a bad run, because we need him to save our fucking world, and you're gonna treat him like shit, you dumbass?
Yeah, and, I think the Queen has to do some politicking, too.
Yeah, she basically has to say to demi-humans, calm down, we'll get your saint back. Just don't destroy my country. Okay, my husband's a bit of an asshole. I will fix that problem when I get back home. But please, no crusade.
But it was even more. But it was even more than that. Wasn't it supposed to be that was where the Queen? Wasn't that kind of where the Queen was? Was that she was actually negotiating with the other countries to see who was going to?
Yeah, if I remember correctly,
who was going to summon what hero? And then when Melromark screwed up, when he went ahead and summoned them all, she ended up being stuck there because then she had to try and prevent all that war erupting between all the countries because he took all the heroes.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think either Shield Hero was supposed to be summoned, one of the demi-humans, or Melromark, because I think the Queen wanted to, pimp him off, if I remember correctly, to, I remember correctly. Yeah, I remember it now. She wanted to summon the Shield Hero and Melromark because she wanted to pimp him off to build up demi-human relations because he's their saint. Okay? And also, a lot of demi-humans, hey, it's a pleasure to get to, share the same bed with your saint. You're like the God King. You're almost like a God King. It's just if he was summoned in the demi-human things, this would basically turn into hentai. He would be have all his training, you'd have people that's dedicated to serve him to a fault, and if he's chilly in the night, they would send a couple of bed slaves to keep his bed warm, nothing sexual unless he wanted it, make sure that he's nice and safe. They'll give him everything he needed and more. Men, women, training companions, you name it. Nothing is not enough for the Shield Saint. You are a saint, you are our Lord and Savior, and nothing is too much for you. And if you say that this country is fine, then that's perfectly fine. We will not crusade here, and if anyone dares mess with you, we will come down with crusade and righteous indignation. So yeah, the Queen has to deal with that.
And that explains again, right? That explains why, because they float this whole idea about the Queen being the actual power. That's where we kind of find out from Melty, right? Is that the Queen is the actual ruler. And you're kind of well, where the hell is this chick when all this crap is going down? Well, that's what you end up finding out, basically.
Yeah,
right?
Well, basically she's picking up the little bits here and there that just got blasted to pieces.
Yeah.
Now, we do find later on why he did it. It wasn't just the church thing. There's also another reason, which we'll eventually find out. It doesn't excuse him, but it makes more sense and makes him less one-dimensional. And it goes along with the whole the war thing with the demi-humans. Some scars never heal, and it's not just physical scars. Let's just say.
Yeah, and as I said, so the series when you start getting into volume 2 and into volume 3 and 4, it starts moving, and that's where we do find out the whole church has pulled a lot of strings behind the scenes and manipulated a lot of people and sort of added to this whole problem, really.
Well, religion is a very powerful tool, okay? I mean, look at the lengths that the demi-human kingdoms were willing to go to get Naofumi back. I mean, the people that bad-mouthed him or tried to attack him in the streets, they ended up getting brutally murdered, okay?
I just kind of think it's funny, right? Because, I mean, Shield Hero does bring into play a lot of different themes then when you get into that third and fourth book. I mean, it does bring in that whole, like, religious oppression and manipulation, racism, classism, like the whole, like it,
almost every single ism you can think of.
Well, you know what, I like, which one of you said, like, the whole thing with the web novel, it's almost like that's the point where author kind of hit their stride and was like, oh, I think I know what I want to write about.
That's what,
and I think you even see that in like Devil is a Part-Timer. Like volume 3 seems to be when these authors hit their stride and they know, okay, this is what I want to write about.
Well, with these kind of series, you have to go somewhere with it. Like, you can't just go like, oh, look at me, I'm dicking around. Like, you have to have something there. I mean, yeah, like, not everything has to be deep or thought-provoking to be good. But if you're going to, like, tackle these themes, at least try and do something with it, or at least explore it. I mean, for a light novel, this series does pretty well with, like, religious zealotry. I mean, arguably one of the more realistic portrayals of it, actually.
Yeah, something we can do. Something that was talked about on Discord. Like, what would you guys have done in place of Naofumi? Like, if you were in his place, like, summoned and you're bad-mouthed, you're treated like shit?
Probably do the same, obviously. Like, probably just do the same. Like, I probably wouldn't stick in that country, though. I'd probably, like...
Yeah.
If I found those other countries, I'd be like, well, fuck this country. I'm going somewhere else. Like, I'd probably do the same, actually.
Well,
like,
but
you can't really blame Naofumi.
But, I mean, let's remember, too, though, like, Naofumi did not have the financial resources to just run away. Mm-hmm. And they do kind of suggest, like... I mean, they kind of made it clear to him, whether it was true or not, they kind of made it clear to him that, like, the waves were happening in Melromark, and he was going to be summoned back to Melromark anyway. So, I kind of get the idea with that, like, as far as Naofumi was concerned, why would he go traveling to other parts of the world if he's just going to get dragged back to Melromark? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you might as well just figure out a way to make his way there.
It doesn't matter how far he goes, too, right? Like, it'll automatically teleport him no matter what country he's in or what he's doing. Like, there's no way to get away from the waves.
Well, there's a way. I think I'm not sure if it's in the fourth one or later on, but they state that if he goes to another country and then he present his weapon to the hourglass, the dragon hourglass in that country, he will be linked to that country.
So, but he would still go to waves that occurred within their bounds, though, nope. Right? And then he would be basically...
Well,
no?
he would, like, from what I understand, like, each country has its own dragon hourglass, and they each have their own wave of calamity, like, dispersed in time. So, basically, when the one in Melromark ends... there's another one that starts somewhere else. And
and they basically they have to go to these other countries, and like the idea is that along the way, they'll get more companions.
Yeah, but wasn't whatever her name is, Fira Toria or whatever her name is, the other Philo girl, wasn't
Filotolia?
Wasn't she like going to other waves and other parts of the world too, though?
Like, she's kind of subbing for the hero because they're too weak.
Yeah.
But I think that happens later. That's like book 5 or 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think she talks about it in book 4, though, that she has fought other waves. I think it's right at the end of the volume.
Maybe. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to think of when Naofumi meets her and she like basically lays down the law to him. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's in volume 4.
Is that volume 4?
Yeah, that's in volume 4.
Okay,
yeah.
I was trying to remember.
I think it's volume 4 or 5. They talk about like the dragon hourglasses.
Okay, so like in volume 4, yeah. So he meets like the queen of the Philios, and basically he finds out that the reason Philo can transform and the reason she's like this massive Filio is because she was raised by him. Because that's the other
like
queen.
Basically when a hero raises a monster, like they go for a change, and for that particular species, they turn into lollies or shotas if they're male.
Yeah, there you go. So
the system works, man. It's like it panders to every single fetish you could want.
It's lollyism.
So yeah, yeah, we should probably start wrapping this up because we've been talking a long time.
Do you want to talk about a little romance that, because she has a little crush on Naofumi and she wants his sword, the only weapon that he can actually use aside from the shield.
Oh, jeez.
It grows and shrinks.
We don't.
You want to wrap this up with the ending of the arc, like the confrontation at the castle?
So
or whatever?
okay, yeah.
Oh, I fucking love the queen in that scene. She was just like fucking savagery.
It's pretty edgy.
Well, yeah,
in my
like
opinion.
that was pretty dank, and like I think it was funny. What really made me laugh was like how Naofumi's when he's like she's like, what should I do, and he's like, kill them. And Raphtalia is the one who looks at him and she's like, Jesus, like, how harsh do you have to be, right? And like even when he decides like, oh yeah, we're gonna name the king Trash and name the chick Bitch. Even that Raphtalia is kind of like...
I fucking love that. Like, you've got King Trash and a girl whose name is now fucking Bitch.
Yeah, but
I fucking love that. It's like, oh, what's that bitch's name? Oh, her name is Bitch. It's like, yeah, that kind of fits.
I think that Raphtalia's answer to, or more reaction to that is kind of felt like when he said kill them, it felt like you're going a bit too far. But when he said, oh, we're going to change their name, it's like her reaction was more, are you a kid or something?
Yeah, there was like more like
I
disgust.
think arguably in hindsight, having Bitch killed would have probably been probably better in the long run. But, having her dragged with that name legally is like so fucking satisfying.
Well, it's just, it's just, yeah. But yeah, the queen, like, she applies the friggin' slave crest to, well, what is it? It's Mine or Mine?
I just call her mine.
Well,
Just call her Bitch, fuck it.
No, see, it's...
And then Malty.
Like, her name is, it's mine because it's like it's a nickname, an adventurer's nickname, but her real name is Malty.
Yeah. No, Malty is the... Purple is the sister. Malty's.
No,
Yeah,
it's
she's the lolly that
Right,
she's actually
she's
the other
Malty
lolly.
she's Malty. Okay. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Bloody
The
light
queen
novel
needs to come up with better names.
Light
Fucking
novel
hell.
authors and their naming. Jesus. Anyway.
Well, at least they don't have food name.
Well, fair enough. But like mine, I mean, when she slaps that slave curse on her, and like the queen's all like, brah, like, oh my. Yeah, you're right. Flyz. It was pretty savage. She was.
Hey, that's how she rolls, man. She don't give no fucks. That's how she rolls. You're challenging me for dominance. I win.
Yeah, she mentioned. I don't know if there was any more to this, but she did mention that her daughter wasn't exactly a virgin too. And I don't it was tough to read. Obviously, she was pointing to, Motoyasu, but beyond that, I don't know if she's had a history. I don't know.
Yeah, also, didn't the queen try and pimp off her younger daughter to the shield hero as well?
Yes.
She's like, how about
and
this?
she was
Have
like,
my youngest daughter. Look, she's
Yeah.
fertile. Look at those birthing hips. And she hasn't been used. She's pure.
Yeah, it was just to have a child, and then it's like, okay, you can go on your
political
merry way.
advantages. With this child, I can use it for diplomacy.
Yeah.
With the demi-human nations.
Yeah. Well, that was
I roll like a motherfucker.
Yeah,
we should find a picture of her in the anime and put like the swag glasses and like the chains and like the hat
wow.
and like the cigar, and it's just like, that's how I roll, bitch.
Wow.
and getting like a cart with hydraulics, and she's like driving down the street.
Like the queen is an interesting character to me because obviously she's
a lot of fun.
Well, she swoops in initially, and you're kind of like, okay, she's the savior of Naofumi because she's going to show that he's innocent, and now Melromark is not going to treat him like crap anymore and all this. But man, she is kind of like hardcore, like ultimately, yeah, I'll sell my daughter's virginity if I think it'll help me politically. I'll slap a slave.
Why can't I date a woman like this? This would have been great. I'll be ruling New Zealand in no time.
I'll torture the crap out of my oldest daughter just to get the right answer that I want and to, clear shit up and
Well, she's business first.
Even for the heroes, that's got to be like, seeing this example of trash and Malty, it's got to be like,
this bitch is crazy.
Man,
holy shit!
I better not cross her.
Seriously. Well, and I mean,
yeah, because if I remember correctly, like if one of them dies, another hero will take their place.
Is it only if one of them dies, or is it if all of them die? Because that was something I was unclear on.
I think it's if all of them die. But if one of them dies during the waves, the waves will get. No. It's that they have less power.
Yeah, the waves will get strong.
Yeah, they need all four of them. I'm always imagining this is what one of the main girl and realist hero is gonna be become in the future. She's gonna become this savage, no fucks given queen, and Soma's this savage, no fuck king.
Well, and then because that's the whole because isn't that the whole thing with well, I totally forgot her name again. The other queen, Filio. That she's that's what she says. She's like, if you heroes can't get your crap together and start working together, I'll kill all four of you, and then we can resummon new heroes.
Yeah, because wasn't she summoned by one of the original heroes raised her, and she's like,
it was the original.
It
was the original Shield hero, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, this is what, this is what she's almost she's disappointed. These are the successes of my master.
Yeah.
You fucking suck. Fuck you.
Right. Yeah. And and she's basically you know what? We can hold our own. I'll just kill you guys and we'll hold our own until we get new ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, better ones. You suck.
As a reader though, I'm kind of with Flyz on this. These other heroes are just idiots, So
well-intentioned.
As a reader, I was I don't want them working together.
Listen, man. You could the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Okay.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's I thought I actually but I have to say though, I did like that whole twist with her though. I did like that, the whole thing where it was I'll just take you all out, and then she just she kind of demonstrates what her powers.
She's like fucking Godzilla, in chicken form. She's like Godzilla.
That killed me, man. I was like,
well,
oh my
she
God.
can probably grow up to that size.
Imagine the amount of KFC you could have made out of that chicken.
Oh, jeez.
You could end world hunger.
Yeah, Godzilla chicken.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
nice and tender.
Okay. So now that we're going totally off the rails, maybe we'll
hey,
giant
I always
chicken.
make sure this is off the rails because we must conserve the hype.
Yeah.
Queen is best character. She's a savage. Story of her.
Well, yeah, I do like the Queen. Yeah, she is. Yeah, and I know we're talking about volumes 1 to 4, but she keeps going like that. At least for the volumes I've read beyond it.
Yeah, she does. She gives zero. She's basically, the deal with it glasses and swag cap.
Yeah.
And the chain.
Yeah. Zero fucks given, and you're just gonna take it to town. Yeah.
Didn't she freeze her husband and is it fucking in an ice bowl? And she's like, I know, this is what called the naughty chair. Oh, what's that for? I pick it up and I beat you with it.
Yeah, well, yeah, she does that to it. The fourth one, doesn't she? She freezes him.
The fourth or sixth one, so something like that.
Oh, I can't remember, but yeah, she
freezes the priest that they fight. I know that much.
Yeah, she messes him up too.
But
I thought she had him executed.
I think it's later on she frees her husband in the eyes.
Yeah.
I think it's more in the sixth one.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, she just like puts him in there to calm him down because she's like, "Damn you, shield demon! You've turned my wife against me, and you're also trying to plow my youngest daughter. I will." And the queen's like, "Fuck off."
I don't get why they try to make Trash be a military. I think they assign him to some sort of military post. I understand that
apparently,
he was some
these
hero
is kind of spoilers, but back in his day, he was quite the competent tactician, and now there is reasons which I will not spoil for why he hates Naofumi so much, but he does get over it. I'll give you that little nugget. He does get over it, but I'm not going to tell you why because we must save hype for the next episode.
Yeah. But right now, it doesn't look like a great idea to put this guy who is so wild and hating of the shield hero in command of your military who's supposed to help the shield hero out. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, was there any pressing things you guys want to talk a little further about, or?
Nah, we'll just save it for the next, Shield Hero podcast.
All right. Well, I mean, it looks like they're going to do at least two, they are doing 2 cores, which means they're doing 2 arcs. So we could easily come back to this one later on.
Yeah, we didn't really talk much about him, but just figured I'd say the weapon shop owner, he's a good dude so far.
Really good character.
You mean Agil?
Yeah, they never mentioned his name.
He's just blacksmithing dude.
Well, did you see that? They're like, I think I've seen this guy before. They have an image of Agil, and they have an image of I can't remember one other blacksmith, and they're all the same character basically. Anyway.
But I did find that they kind of sped up his character development in the anime.
Oh yeah, he was a lot more resistant to Naofumi in the beginning.
Oh, I did love in the early going. Naofumi was running around in his underpants, to do the leveling, and he's like, "All right, dude, come on, you gotta put something on."
Yeah, stop walking around naked. We're a civilized country, you hear?
So we will end our discussion of the Shield Hero at this point, although, yes, it is very likely we will come back to it at another time, maybe after the second
Hey, when are we going to do,
finished.
polls at one point as well?
Do we really want to know what people think? No, I'm just kidding.
No, polls for what people want to do next, because I know we're doing Overlord.
I think we were going to do that for the 1 year.
Yeah,
I think we were going to do that for the 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, I think what we'll probably do, now that we've got the Discord up and running, we will probably use Discord to do stuff like that down the road. Cause
yeah, Justus, just use straw poll. You can just make a poll. I can show you right now.
Well, you can use SurveyMonkey.
Yeah,
you can
whatever,
use straw poll. You can use a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the Discord will be the best place to do that kind of stuff. In any case, we are going to call it a night for tonight. And as it was said, we will be, in our next episode, talking about the light novel series Overlord. We'll be covering, I think we said, the first 3 volumes of that, because that was the first season of the anime. So, until then, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. And to all of your listeners, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in the next episode when we talk about Overlord. Until then, bye-bye for now. For show notes and related links, visit lightnovelpodcast.com.